Hey folks, Randy Arsenault here with Red Friday Talks. I'm here once again with Dave Connor. Dave, how you doing today, bud?
Good to see you, pal. How are you?
Great, thanks. Very important topic today. Fire scene etiquette. I don't even know if I
Uh,
worded that properly.
yeah, that's
So,
good.
basically, you drive up to, or the average person are driving by the scene of an accident. Maybe they see some fire trucks that are out, or they're at a plaza and there's some smoke in a building. It doesn't have to be a great big fire, but they see some fire trucks out and there's hoses going across the ground, and a lot of people don't know what to do, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Tell me, tell me something that I understand this happens very, very often where people drive over fire hoses. Is that true?
Yeah. So remind me to come back to scene etiquette, but the fire hose thing, and I've had officers complain about. Look, I got a fairly large skill set here. What am I doing standing here guarding a fire hose? But what when we spoke on a previous unit, we talked about how those sewer looking things at the side of the road, their job is to get water off the road and out to the streams and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you live in a community that has fire hydrants, which many of us don't, but I'm not sure if you have fire hydrants where you're living. You probably don't. Um,
Right.
the fire hydrant system uses the municipal water supply. I mean, that's pretty basic, but your water supply that comes into your house is tapped off the exact same pipes that run down the street that the hydrants are on. It's not a
Okay.
separate system. So those water supply systems vary in size and capacity to flow. Water supply systems can be very, very old, and we just continue to build onto them. The pipes can become crusted with junk and reduce the flow. They can
Okay.
also become very brittle over time. So the technology has only changed to the point where it's pressurized now. It's under constant pressure, and when you open up a fire hydrant, usually see a bunch of junky water come out, like even bits of junk and sort of a grayish brown mucky stuff. You don't want to pull that into your intake port of your fire truck. So they'll open up the hydrant and flush that out for a minute or so. Then they'll shut it down and they'll hook onto it, and then they'll slowly open up the hydrant and send the water into the truck. So
Okay.
here's the thing about hoses. If you run over the hose, there's two potentials. One is you can rip the hose with the bottom of your car, and that stops the water supply, so that what might be a very successful and rescue based interior operation in a fire, everybody's going to have to come out because we don't have water anymore. So we have to come back and get a water supply. You can lose the building. You can have it's a stupid word, but you can have an unsuccessful rescue as a result of that.
Okay.
But here's the thing: if the water is flowing through that hydrant supplied fat hose, and somebody drives over it, what happens is that super it increases the pressure in the water. And water can't be compressed, right? So if you put pressure on something with water in it, it's going to move in a different direction. It's going to overpressurize. So you run over the hose, it overpressurizes the water main. The next time when the region people go to service the hydrant, or the next time you try to use that water main, the water main's ruptured because it overpressurized and during one moment, and then when you open up the hydrant, it causes the flow pressure to reduce in the water main, and it'll just crumble onto itself. And that's why they've got to rip up the whole road and change the whole water main, because it's been ruined. So the big reason is for not running over fire hoses is as follows: it's bad form because you're operating too close to an active fire scene. It's unsafe for firefighters because it can make an offensive operation become a defensive one, but it actually can damage the municipal infrastructure. Those are the reasons. I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, you mentioned about fire scene etiquette. If there's hoses on the road, don't approach the hoses on the road. And you see a lot of times where we see police or fire tape that's roped off in a scene. That often doesn't happen until the second act of the show, because we got every hand is busy and we don't have time for that kind of stuff, right? As far as etiquette goes, and this is like the modest. We talked before about police asking fire not to damage all the evidence. Here's the thing that we prefer for police is don't pull up right behind a fire truck, because usually in the back of a fire truck you'll see the indicators of its home station, its location, and there'd be a big old roll up door in the center of it. Inside that roll-up door is all the ladders that that truck carries. So if there's a car right behind it, we can't get the ladders out because the car blocks the exit out of that port for the ground ladders. So that's kind of one thing.
You know, I
Another police.
yeah. So I'm just going
Sorry,
to
what's
build
that?
off that.
Oh,
Talking about the fire scene etiquette and when
yeah,
police vehicles. I hate to put it this way, but it seems like police vehicles are more disposable than fire trucks, and they should be more disposable because they're a lot cheaper. Yeah, they got all kinds of different equipment, but I don't know how many times people have been pissed off. So I'm at a scene. I'm at a very, very bad accident where there's
yeah,
ambulances, there's police, there's
yeah,
fire, whatever the case is. Let's say there's 3 lanes, 3 lanes one way, 3 lanes the other way. And the police vehicle, it's not up to a fire truck to stop traffic, first of all, and it shouldn't be up to a fire truck. A lot of people don't realize that the roads are being closed and they actually back right into or they drive right into the police vehicles or any emergency vehicle. So what often happens is even if the fire a truck or the ambulance, they only need 1 lane, going back to this 3 lane highway, even if they only need 1 lane, well, you got all kinds of emergency services personnel walking
yeah,
around the vehicles, walking around the
totally.
vehicles, and people
Totally.
get
Well,
so
yeah, it's an active scene, and you need to take
well,
those couple of lanes.
people
One of the
get
things that people always ask is, why do you send two or three fire trucks to a car crash? And one of the reasons is we need a water supply truck to make sure that, things do catch fire. It happens. We need the rescue crew to do the extrication, but we'll sometimes use a second or third vehicle that will park on an angle on the roadway behind the scene on the downflow on the approach flow from traffic, because people will drive right into firefighters and cops working on the road. So we give them a 40,000 pound thing to drive into, and they bounce off the fire truck. You give them a 5,000 pound police car to bang into, they're going to drive the police car right into the scene. So more and more, you're totally right that you have to protect that scene and not explain to people what you're doing. But that is the big reason you'll see an additional pumping unit on a highway scene, is to protect the scene of the people working upstream from there, from people simply driving right in. In big American departments, they'll often put out a city dump truck, or maybe an old retired fire apparatus, and it's absolutely sacrificial metals. Give the people something to drive into, because they will kill people working on the ground. When I was, it's funny. I as a captain for many years on a heavy rescue truck, and my biggest fear with my men was not that they would get killed in a fire, or that by men I mean crew. Not that they get killed in a fire, or we'd have a high angle rescue that failed, was getting hit in the head with a truck mirror on the highway,
yeah.
because you can't pay attention to what's going on around you. And if trucks have a lane, they're going for it. So that's a really good question that you ask about that. Um, One of the things that actually, frankly, it can be problematic at a fire scene is if the police arrive on a residential street, they'll sometimes block the road, and then they'll get out of their car and go have a look or see if they can help or whatever. If
Yeah.
we've got to get ambulances out or aerial trucks in, we can't get them past that police car. So we have to run around and say, whose unit is that? And you have to get it out of the way and move it and stay with it. So it's all back to that conversation we've had many times about lead agencies, right? Fire's the
Yeah.
lead agency. Everybody's in support of fire. If the fire's out and all you've got is victims, then the ambulance service is lead agency. If the victims are gone and and there's any suspicion in regards to the nature of the fire, then it's a law enforcement issue. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way that's going to fold.
And
Another one that you see in the movies all the time is the first in units arrive on a scene, lights and siren, because they need to clear the space and let people know that they're coming. Okay.
right.
After that, any subsequent units, especially if it's an active scene, they don't need to be coming with their sirens on. And it's really counterproductive, and it hurts the ears for somebody to be the fifth or sixth unit to roll up, or the police car to roll up and come in sirens when there's people working. We
Yeah.
can't hear. We got to cover our ears. It's just rude, frankly. I mean, fire trucks do it too, and ambulances, but it's
Yeah.
something that I see in the movies all the time, where the lead detective's called into the scene and they drive right up to the yellow tape with
Yes.
their sirens going,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
hop out. Well, by the time the tape's out, there's 50 people working that scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I know.
helps.
It's true.
It
It's
makes the shot work, but
yeah.
that's really bad form. You don't be coming up hot like that.
No, no. You see that. You do. You see it in the movies all the time. That's funny.
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes there's going to be streets that are shut down. I'm talking for the general public here.
Yep.
Sometimes the streets are going to be shut down. Entire streets are going to be shut down. Hopefully, it doesn't last long. It could be your loved one that requires attention, and this is just, it's part of the nature of emergency
Totally.
services.
Totally. Yeah. And the thing to
Dave,
remember is that what looks like a piece of municipal infrastructure for you to use as public property has temporarily been reclassified as a workstation for somebody. It's our workplace.
right?
And we have an obligation under the Health and Safety Act to make that scene as safe as we can. Sometimes that means taking an extra lane. That means sometimes we have control of the scene longer than people might think we should, especially if traffic gets backed up for
Yeah,
miles or kilometers or whatever unit measure you're doing. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you ask people just be a little bit patient. Um, we don't want to be out there in the highway any longer than you want us out there. So just try not to bang into us, I guess.
yeah. Well, listen, Dave, I appreciate the conversation. And I just actually kind of want to shout out Red Friday Talks as well. If you want any more information on Red Friday, what we do, the organization, the services provided, please visit redfridaytalks.help. Any
Please
last
do
words of
come and
advice,
visit us.
Dave?
Come and see the stuff we're up to. And thanks somebody in our expanding group of fans for asking the question about why don't we let you run over firehouses. I like answering that question because it's all science, right? It's all basic physics. In fact, the fire service is essentially an elegant form of manual labor that applies physics. It's really what it comes down to, right? So if your knowledge of physics is weak, it's harder to understand what it is we're doing. But if you want to ask how we run a scene, you want to ask what crews do what, you want to ask what the priorities are and how we make those decisions, please let us know another question, and we'll take the good parking spots, and the police will park down the street.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Have a good day.
Great to see you, brother. Thanks for coming by.